When her daughter comes home from school late with a full backpack, she is afraid of the worst. Then she looks inside and sees wads of cash. When she finally opens it and finds wads of cash, she realizes that her daughter set it up. After a long labor, the young mother and nervous father welcomed their daughter into the world, and they knew right away that something wasn't right. It looked like her legs were different from those of other babies. They were so scared that they looked at the doctors and saw that they were also scared. They knew right away that their child had a long way to go. In just a few days, the little girl would have the first of a series of complicated surgeries that would all help fix her legs. Each surgery broke and scared the new parents, but they had to stay strong for the new life they made. And the fact that the baby wasn't hurting gave them comfort. They started looking for answers right away, but they were hard to find. After many visits to doctors, they found out that their baby was born with Larsen syndrome, a rare genetic disorder that only 1 in 1,000 people have. The disorder affects the growth of bones all over the body. Some of the effects are harmless, like a hammer toe, but many of the effects are much more serious and have far-reaching effects. They really wanted to know how much this affected their baby. The answers were even worse than they had imagined. They gave her the name Addie, and her parents will never forget the day they found out how sick she was. She couldn't walk well because her legs weren't straight. The doctor told their parents, who were still hopeful, that she might never be able to walk. But they wouldn't give up, and they knew they would do anything to give Addie a normal life. But how did they get started? After 4 surgeries on her legs, the new family was finally able to go home and start their lives. Even though the Texas Scottish Rite Hospital does everything it can to make parents and children feel like they aren't in a hospital, it was still nice to go home. Addie was growing up well, just like any other kid. She was mobile in her own way, and her parents were just glad that Addie didn't feel any pain from her legs, even though they looked funny. She didn't think anything of it. All of them had a long way to go, but they wouldn't know where it led for a long time. Addie had as many as 65 surgeries to fix her legs before she turned 7. And because this brave little girl kept trying, her parents were always there for her, and the hospital was great. She was finally able to walk and run like any other child, but this family was in for more. Just out of sight, because Addie's had spent so much of her young life at Texas Scottish Rite Hospital, either getting surgery, recovering, or doing physical therapy. She loved being outside, running around, going to school, and making new friends. But no one had the slightest idea that she was hiding something very important. Addie was away from home for a long time. She wasn't at the hospital, and her parents thought she was just having fun with her school friends in the summer sun, like all kids should. They had no idea that Addie wasn't even close to playing. Her mother just thought something was wrong. When her daughter's backpack kept getting bigger, she finally had to open it one day. After her daughter went to bed for the night, her mother went to find the growing backpack. She had to know what her daughter was doing every day when she brought something so big in and out of the house. But when she opened it, piles and piles of cash fell out, stopping her heart. Where on earth she and her 7-year-old son found a lot of money? She was afraid of what Addie might be up to and thought about going up to her right then to talk to her, but she decided to calm down and ask Addie in the morning. What Addie had been hiding soon would be revealed, but the reason for it was going to be shocking. The next morning, a curious but nervous mother brought up the subject of the huge amount of money her daughter had gotten her hands on. She was afraid of what she might hear, but she should have trusted her daughter. When Addie started to tell her story, her mother's eyes filled with tears, and her heart pounded with pride. She started out not knowing how big her campaign would be or how shocked her mother would be. I just put up a sign that says, "For my birthday, I want to raise $8,000 for Texas Scottish Rite Hospital." That's when her mother's heart broke for the sweet child who had been through so many terrible things. She would do anything to help Addie get what she wants for her birthday. Addie's mom was now standing next to her at an intersection in a busy part of Houston, Texas. People didn't have to wait long to talk about how kind this little girl was, even though doctors had said she would never be able to walk on her own. Addie was trying to repay the hospital for all it had done for her. Her story was soon published, and like a snowball, it got more and more attention. It spread like wildfire and was picked up by many major newspapers and TV shows. Her story kept getting shared all over the internet, and she got much more than the $8,000 she had hoped for. How far could she really go? Addie had raised almost $20,000 with the help of her mother in a very short amount of time, and it didn't look like it was going to slow down yet. One day, she got a letter and a check from someone she didn't know. The check was for the crazy amount of $50,000, and it was meant to help little kids like Addie. But why did Addie agree to do such a big job for the hospital? We all know that Addie was born with this awful problem. Her parents were not even close to ready for how much it would cost. They were still determined to help her live a healthy life, though. When Addie was sick, the hospital was kind enough to help her family. Donations are what can make hospitals like Texas Scottish Rite work. Even if a child's family can't pay for it, they get the care they need through donations. Addie's birthday wish came true because of the media in a big way. They told a lot of people about her message, and the response from the public was great. Everyone's heart was touched by this young girl who never focused on the bad things in her life. She said, "I wanted to give the money to the hospital so that other kids like me can get new prosthetics."